we're going to get started. So this is the Translational Research in Clinical Oncology course, and we call it TRACO for short. So I'm Terry Moody. I'm at the NCI Center for Cancer Research, and I do research in Building 10, but my office is up at Shady Grove. But the best way to get me is email. So if you have any questions, you can always contact me. My phone number is also listed. So the email is moodyt@mail.nih.gov. Okay, I'd like to acknowledge several people on our organizing committee. Erwin Arias, you're probably familiar with his name. He does demystifying medicine in the spring. And so this is a complementary course, which we offer in the fall. And we focus especially on cancer. He deals with all sorts of diseases. And then I'd like to acknowledge Jonathan Wiest of the NCI CCR. He basically pays for the bills. And the big bill for this class is the video cast. So all of our lectures are live at http://videocast.nih.gov. And we also video conference live to NCI Frederick. NCI is a big place, so we have about 25% of our fellows up at the Frederick National Lab. And then 2 days after the video cast, we actually archive all the lectures, and they're posted on YouTube. Again, it's videocast.nih.gov. So if you can't come to class, the advantage of coming to class is you get the handouts. And then you can watch it anytime on your computer. You can call it up at videocast.nih.gov. And you go to lectures and TRACO, and they're all posted. We've been doing this course for about 13 years, and everyone is archived from the very first. And usually we have class on Monday afternoons, 4 to 6. But yesterday was Labor Day, so we're doing it on Tuesday this week. And I'll be lecturing today, introducing you to cancer research. And the big thing for NCI now is we believe in precision medicine. So with our patients, we get a biopsy specimen, do a genetic analysis, and then that dictates the treatment that the patient gets in the clinic. Pete Choyke will also be lecturing today on imaging. So with cancer, the goal is to detect it early when it's most amenable to treatment. When cancer undergoes metastasis, it's very hard to cure. But if you can attack it when it's localized to a specific organ, then your odds of defeating it are much greater. And then you see we have several particular types of cancer that we go into: prostate cancer, lymphoma, ovarian cancer. And we talk about clinical trials. At NCI, we do translational research. So we develop a lot of new drugs. We test them in the clinic at Building 10, phase 1 and phase 2 studies. We have a very promising candidate, then we license it out to a company, and they do phase 3 trials. And if that works, then it becomes a big drug. And about 1/3 of the drugs that are used on cancer patients were developed here at NCI. So the latest example is the cervical cancer vaccine. And we'll be having a lecture on that in this course. So note that there's another Monday that's no good. That's the Columbus Day holiday, which is October 10th. And so that day we have lecture on Wednesday. And with cancer, traditionally it's treated with chemotherapy and radiation oncology. So we'll just be discussing this. But a new emphasis that I'll be discussing today is using small molecules, especially tyrosine kinase inhibitors for cancer patients. We have additional lectures on lung cancer, breast cancer, and cervical cancer. As we mentioned, that'll be done by John Schiller. And then towards the end, we get sort of heavy into the genomics. And as I mentioned, we look for mutations in the genome, and that can, if it's a driver mutation, then that's very important in the progress of the cancer, and we can make that a target for our drugs. Another phenomena, though, is just the silencing of genes. That can also lead to cancer. And we have some types of cancer that are very difficult to treat, such as pancreatic cancer. And Kurt Harris is going to be talking about precision medicine. And then we close with nanotechnology. So with cancer drugs, traditionally, most of them are injected IV, so they get all over the body. But with nanotechnology, you can target these drugs to particular sites where the cancer is, and then you'll get less side effects. Okay, so the advantage of NCI courses is they're free, the price is right, and you can register. This is our website here, a big long name, but it ends in TRACO. And then what we try to do is post all the PowerPoints on the website, but it's not so easy because we have to follow government rules and make them 508 compliant. And sometimes that can take 6 to 12 hours for one PowerPoint. So it's a very tedious process. So be patient and we'll post as many as we can. And alternatively, you can just send me an email and I can forward you the PowerPoint. And then a unique component of TRACO is you can sign up to attend tumor boards, visit grand rounds, or visit some of our core facilities. NCI, we have lots of core facilities. We put a lot of money in that so that we can do all the genetic analysis of the tumors. And then finally, you can get a course certificate at the end of the course. So we post an exam online. It's a multiple guess exam. There's one question from each of the 26 lectures. If you get 70% or higher, you pass, and then you qualify for a course certificate. So that takes care of the basics of the course. Are there any questions on the organization? Okay, then we'll proceed to the first lecture. And so with cancer, we're talking about big numbers. In the US, we have over 1.3 million people diagnosed with cancer each year, and about half of them are going to die from this cancer. And so these are the big four in the US: lung cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer. They each have about the same incidence, over 150,000. But we note that with lung cancer, most of the people die. So lung cancer, it's very difficult to treat clinically. We're making progress though. Next week we'll have a lecture on immune checkpoint inhibitors. And so what happens is some cancers, they sort of wear masks to shield them from the immune system. And these immune checkpoint inhibitors then take off the mask so that the immune cell can recognize the cancer cell as foreign and then destroy it. And we have colon cancer, about 50,000 dying from that each year. And then breast and prostate cancer, it's on the order of 30,000. So you can see that breast and prostate cancer are much more treatable than is colon or lung. Lung cancer, we really have very few drugs that work. Chemotherapy is largely ineffective, whereas with breast cancer, there's lots of drugs that work, such as tamoxifen, Herceptin, and others, lapatinib. And prostate cancer, it's rather slow growing, so the mortality is much less. So lung cancer is very difficult to treat. Other cancers difficult to treat are pancreatic cancer, ovarian cancer, and brain cancer. So these are four areas where we need to make additional progress in research. Some of the blood cancers like lymphoma, leukemia, that's largely treatable. Stomach cancer is not a major problem in this country, but it's very prominent in Asia. Lots of people die from stomach cancer in Asia. And then liver cancer, that's associated with exposure to uh, organic chemicals such as methanol or acetone. Alternatively, it can result from alcohol abuse. And then bladder cancer and kidney cancer, uh, they're both uh, abnormalities that result in excretion of urine. And then esophageal cancer, that often comes from cigarette smoking. So, what are the cancer risks? Well, we mentioned alcohol. That can lead to liver cancer. So it's okay to drink alcohol moderately. You don't want to drink it chronically. Asbestos. This is an insulation material that was very popular in the 80s. In the old buildings, the walls are full of it. As long as it's in the walls, it's okay. But if it gets in the air and you breathe it in, you can get mesothelioma of the lung. Diet. In Asia, they eat a lot of very spicy foods, and this is associated with an increase in stomach cancer. Familial. Some cancers are genetic, such as colon cancer. And breast cancer, about 5% of the cases result from mutations of BRCA1 or BRCA2. Hormones, breast cancer uses estradiol. Prostate cancer uses testosterone. These are factors that stimulate the growth of many of these cancers. And then obesity. This is associated especially with colon cancer and ionic radiation, such as that comes from the atomic bomb. That's associated with leukemias and blood cancers. Tobacco use is associated with lung cancer and to a smaller extent esophageal cancer. UV radiation, you go out in the sun too much, you can get melanoma. And then some cancers, such as cervical cancers, are associated with viruses. Hence the Gardasil. You give that to teenage girls to prevent them from getting the cervical cancer. So we're going to focus on lung cancer as a source of carcinogenesis. And lung cancer, we mentioned, it kills over 150,000 annually. And in the US, we have about 45 million current smokers and 45 million ex-smokers. It's difficult to quit smoking due to nicotine addiction. And with heart disease, when you quit smoking, you get better right away. With cancer, when you quit smoking, it takes about 10 years for your risk to return to normal. So it's a very slow process, this lung carcinogenesis. And in the cigarette smoke, there's several carcinogens that have been identified. We're going to focus on the polyaromatic hydrocarbons. Another one that's of great concern is NNK. Ethyl carbamate, this is in varnish that you use on wooden floors. And then we see some metals such as nickel, chromium, cadmium. They can contribute to lung cancer. And last on the list is hydrazine, which is fuel for rockets. So lung cancer, you have a lot of different carcinogens that you have to worry about. So basically, the polyaromatic hydrocarbons, they're inactive, but then your body metabolizes them so that they become active. And then they can form an adduct with the DNA. And so the benzapyrene goes to form this metabolite BPDE. This then forms adducts with the DNA, leading to mutations. And especially the genes for P53 and KRAS are frequently mutated in lung cancer. So here we see benzapyrene, its chemical structure. It's an aromatic compound. We have 4 benzene rings. And then we have a 6-membered ring with hydroxyls coming off of it. And what happens then is these hydroxyls become oxidized in the process of carcinogenesis. So here we have the benzapyrene. It gets metabolized by the P450 enzyme to benzapyrene 7,8 oxide, and it gets metabolized by epoxide hydrolase to benzapyrene 7,8 diol, gets metabolized again by P450 to BPDE, and then it binds to the DNA, especially guanine nucleotides, and then ultimately it can be excreted after acid hydrolysis. So the cytochrome P450 enzymes add oxygen to the carcinogen, increasing its water solubility. And then ultimately it forms an adduct with the DNA. And then the phase 2 enzymes metabolize the active metabolite to a form that it's highly soluble and can be excreted in the urine. So DNA gets mutated if the rate of carcinogen activation exceeds the rate of a carcinogen detoxification and or DNA repair. So DNA adducts as well as intra and interstrand DNA crosslinks are removed by nucleotide excision repair. So basically the DNA is getting damaged. If you can repair that damage quickly enough, you're not going to get cancer. If you can't repair it quickly enough, you will get cancer. And so P53 is a tumor suppressor gene. So tumor suppressor genes inhibit carcinogenesis. And in particular, P53 plays a role in the cell cycle checkpoint in G1 to S phase transitions. G1 is resting, S phase, you're replicating the DNA. And so if the DNA gets damaged, the P53, when it's active, it can induce programmed cell death and kill the cell. It also increases P21, which is a cell cycle inhibitor after DNA damage. And if P53 gets phosphorylated, it induces apoptosis by expression of BAX, and the cancer cell gets killed. Or it can induce expression of GAD45, facilitating DNA repair, and the cancer cell will live. So if we repair the damage fast enough, the cancer cell will become normal again. So P53 mutations are detected in many of the lung cancer patients, and G to T transversions occur at CpG-rich codons, including 153 to 158, which is exon 5, 248 and 249, which is exon 7, and 273, which is exon 8 of the P53 gene. So there's an excess of G to T transversions in smokers relative to non-smokers. So P53 mutations then are not random. They occur at these hot spots, 157, 158, 245, 248, 249, and 273. And so when we look at the cell cycle, we mentioned the G phase is resting. Cancer cells don't like to rest. They try to grow as fast as they can, so they want to get to S phase where they can replicate the DNA. Then in the G2 phase, they make additional proteins needed for cell division. And in the M phase, we have the chromosomes separate, and we get 2 daughter cells from 1 parent cell. So the cancer cells try to grow as rapidly as they can, and we do a lot of research with lung cancer cells, and they essentially double every day. So they're growing as fast as they can. And they don't like to be in the G0 phase at all. And the G1 phase, they try to stay there as short as possible. So when we have DNA damage, then we get increases in P21 and P53. P53 drives programmed cell death and apoptosis. And P21 will see us involved in the cell cycle. So these are enzymes in the cell cycle then. And in the G1 phase, we have cyclin D1 is very important. And cyclin-dependent kinase 2, as well as cyclin-dependent kinase 4 and 6. So P21 will basically be an inhibitor then, preventing the going from G1 phase to S phase. In S phase, cyclin A is the predominant cyclin. Cyclin-dependent kinase 2 is also important. In the G2 phase, cyclin A is important, but we shifted the cyclin-dependent kinase now to 1 from 2. And then in the M phase, we switch the cyclin. Cyclin B is important, and cyclin-dependent kinase 1. So depending on the phase then, we can have different cyclins and different cyclin-dependent kinases that are active. So it takes a long time to get lung cancer, and we now know that with lung cancer, there's probably about 40 to 50 genes that are altered. And after 10 years of smoking cigarettes, you start to get normal cells being converted to hyperplasia, and then metaplasia. And after 15 years of smoking, dysplasia results. And after 20 years, a carcinoma in situ can form. And after 25 years, a malignant cancer can form. So it takes a long time to get lung cancer because you mutate so many different genes. And so here we see that the normal cells are epithelial cells, nicely stacked. With hyperplasia, we get an abundance of cells. With mild dysplasia, the cells start to become disorganized. With carcinoma in situ, some of them now are becoming carcinogenic. And then when we go further, this is a cancer that undergoes metastasis. So lung cancer, it starts in the lung, but then it goes to the liver, lymph nodes, and brain. So this is an example of what's called an H&E stain, and this is just the normal alveoli, and you see here villi on the surface, and these villi, they exchange gases. In your lung, you're breathing in oxygen, you're exhaling CO2. So when we get hyperplasia now, there's a stacking of the cells, and we note some of the villi are impaired, and so it gets harder to exchange gases, harder to breathe. And then when we have dysplasia, the alveoli becomes very disrupted in appearance. It gets harder to breathe. And then here we have a carcinoma in situ. And when we see carcinomas forming, basically the nuclei increase, the purple, and the cytosol decreases, the pink. And then here you see an adenocarcinoma, and you see lots of purple and not as much pink. Okay, so carcinogens such as benzopyrene, they start the process where epithelial cells start to grow. And basically, the dominant oncogenes convert the normal cells to carcinogenic cells. And then we have tumor promoters that then stimulate the growth of these initiated cells so that they start to propagate. And then with further mutations of oncogenes and the turning off of tumor suppressor genes, you get a malignant carcinoma forming, and this can undergo metastasis. And basically, of the 500,000 people that we saw that die from cancer in a table earlier, they all die because they have metastasis. And so the tumors start to grow as clusters of cells, but then when they become big, they have a problem because they need to get nutrients and oxygen to further grow. So what happens is the host will provide blood vessels to the tumor. So if you're doing a mouse model and you have a tumor, the mouse blood vessels will grow into the tumor to provide oxygen and nutrients. And then once the tumor is big enough, it can undergo metastasis. So it breaks out of the primary organ, gets into the blood, and invades to a distant organ. Such as lung cancer, it starts in the lung, but then when it gets into the brain, you've got about a month left, and then you're going to die. Because when it gets into the brain, it just sort of takes off, and a lot of your brain cells die, and that's pretty much it. So in lung cancer, we mentioned before, the tumor suppressor gene p53 gets mutated. p53 can also get silenced, as can the retinoblastoma gene. And then we get amplification of certain oncogenes. We mentioned cyclin D1 is a cell cycle protein that facilitates cells going from the G phase to the S phase. And c-MYC is a nuclear oncogene that alters gene expression. And then we're going to focus on receptor tyrosine kinases, especially the EGF receptor. So these receptor tyrosine kinases, they're very important in cancer growth. The EGF receptor is big. It contains almost 1,200 amino acids. Over 500 of these amino acids are extracellular, where they bind the growth factor EGF or TGF alpha. And then when it binds, it causes a conformation change, and this tyrosine kinase domain gets activated, and proteins can get phosphorylated by the EGF receptor. Another one that's very important in cancer is the IGF-1 receptor, and it's got a binding site on the outside, but it's a little different because the EGF receptor, it's a monomer. The IGF-1 receptor, it's got 2 alpha subunits that bind the ligand and 2 beta subunits that have tyrosine kinase activity. Another one that's very important in angiogenesis is the VEGF receptor. And it's got a kinase domain on the inside, and on the outside, it's got a different structure, an immunoglobulin-like domain. So for the EGF receptor, it was shown in 2004 that it can get mutated and turned on in lung cancer patients. About 15% of the patients have this mutated EGF receptor, and subsequently tyrosine kinase inhibitors were synthesized that inhibited the EGF receptor activation, and in turn it slowed the cancer growth in patients. And the EGF receptor, it's unique because it's got a lot of ligands that can bind and activate it. EGF, TGF alpha, amphiregulin, beta-cellulin, heparin-binding EGF, epiregulin. And another receptor tyrosine kinase that's important in lung cancer is ERB2. and you'll notice that there's no ligand for it. Well, how does it get active? It turns out the EGF receptor likes to form dimers, and it can form a dimer with itself, or it can form a heterodimer with ERB2. So when EGF binds to its receptor, ERB2 can get turned on. So the EGF receptor, as we mentioned, it's got 1,186 amino acids, 621 amino acids on the outside binding the ligand, a single transmembrane domain, and then 541 amino acids intracellularly, where we have tyrosine kinase activity. And to turn the tyrosine kinase on, ATP has to bind to lysine 721, and then tyrosine amino acids in substrates are phosphorylated. And it turns out the EGF receptor is its own substrate in that 4 tyrosines on the EGF receptor can get autophosphorylated. So EGF binds with high affinity, as does TGF-alpha. Ira Paston here at NCI, he makes Pseudomonas exotoxin conjugates. And when you attach Pseudomonas exotoxin to TGF-alpha, it binds with high affinity, but it'll kill the cancer cells. And similarly, this monoclonal antibody 108 slows the cancer growth. So we mentioned that when EGF binds, it causes tyrosine phosphorylation. Here's the EGF receptor, 170 kilodaltons. This is PI3 kinase. Or no, this is phospholipase gamma, 148 daltons. And then this is PI3 kinase. 2 subunits of it get phosphorylated. And so we mentioned that these tyrosine kinase inhibitors have been developed. In the US, we use gefitinib. In Europe, they use erlotinib. And they both bind to the ATP binding site, lysine 721. So then ATP can't get in, and the phosphate can't be transferred to tyrosine amino acid substrates. And then they found that there's mutations that activate the EGF receptor, especially L858R and G719C. So it's very peculiar. The EGF receptor gets mutated in lung cancer, but not other types of cancer. And so here we see the EGF receptor mutations. We've got the L858R, that turns it on, and the G719C turns it on. Also, you can have deletions in 746 to 750, and that will turn it on. And so then once it gets turned on, there's signal transduction mechanisms that occur. And one of the more popular ones is this RAS, RAF, MEK, ERK cascade. So we have TGF-alpha binding to the EGF receptor. It interacts with adapter proteins, GREB2 and SOS. And then in turn, RAS gets activated. It's a GTP binding protein. RAF is a serine threonine kinase. And then MEK is an enzyme which activates ERK. When ERK gets phosphorylated, it goes into the nucleus and alters gene transcription. So in non-small cell lung cancer, RAS gets mutated about 20% of the time. And when we have mutated RAS, there's reduced GTPase activity, so RAS GTP predominates. And most of the RAS mutations are G to T at codon 12. And so we know this is a problem, and the Frederick National Lab has a program now to try to come up with new RAS inhibitors. And that's a work in progress, a very difficult project. So RAF is downstream of RAS, It's a serine threonine kinase, and it gets mutated at V600E in about 60% of the patients. And so tyrosine kinase inhibitors have been developed. This PLX 4032 is initially active in over 80% of the patients. So that's good news. So RAS then and BRAF, they are driver mutations. We mentioned in lung cancer, you've got about 50 mutations. Well, some of them are very key, such as P53, such as EGF receptor, but most of them are what's called passenger mutations. They just go along for the ride. They don't really cause the cancer. And then when we have MEK, it's downstream of RAF, and there's good MEK inhibitors, such as selumetinib, and this is being tested in KRAS mutated lung cancer patients as a drug. And then we have ERK. It's a enzyme downstream from MEK. And we mentioned before, when it gets phosphorylated, it goes into the nucleus, increasing expression of nuclear oncogenes, Phos, Jun, and or MYC. So here's a little cartoon showing the EGF receptor. It forms a dimer. It can then activate RAS, where GTP binds. It can activate RAF, which is a serine threonine kinase. It can activate MEK, which is a tyrosine kinase, and ERK, which causes phosphorylation of various tyrosine residues. Then phosphorylated ERK can enter the nucleus and alter gene expression, especially by turning on Phos. And here's an elegant diagram trying to illustrate the EGF receptor dimerization. And so we have 4 domains outside, domains 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it's going to bind EGF. Here we have a dimer that's inactive. And then when it binds EGF, the dimer becomes active, and it sort of twists together to change the conformation. And then the tyrosine kinase domain gets turned on. Okay, so we've gone through the RAS, RAF, MEK pathway. Another pathway increases cancer cellular survival, and this is the PI3 kinase, AKT, and mTOR pathway. So PI3 kinase, we saw it getting phosphorylated by the EGF receptor. And when it gets phosphorylated, it metabolizes phosphatidylinositol to PIP2 to PIP3. And it can get mutated in about 25% of the breast cancer patients, 27% of the lung cancer, 30% of the colon cancer, and 25% of the stomach cancer patients, resulting in gain of enzymatic activity. So it causes phosphorylation, and PTAN, in contrast, removes the phosphate. So it's a phosphorylase. And it's a phosphatase and tensin homolog, metabolizes PIP3 back to PIP2, resulting in an inhibition of AKT signaling, and it's mutated in about 13% of the breast cancer patients. And AKT is important in cellular survival, and it's a serine threonine kinase, and it gets mutated in about 5% of the breast cancer, 6% of the colon cancer, and 2% of the ovarian cancer cells. And finally, we get to mTOR, and mTOR is sort of a metabolic sensor. So it plays an important role in physiology And they've tried to develop a lot of drugs against mTOR to inhibit cancer growth, and pretty much that hasn't worked out. mTOR is very smart, and right now it's smarter than the chemists, but we'll see. Okay, so now we're looking at a chart of driver mutations in lung cancer. We mentioned before that KRAS is mutated in about 30% of the lung adenocarcinomas. EGF receptors mutated in about 15%. We don't have any drug to stop KRAS yet, but for the EGF receptor, we have these tyrosine kinase inhibitors. And so you say 15%, but 15% when 150,000 a year are dying, that's over 20,000 people that you're prolonging their life giving these tyrosine kinase inhibitors. And then they found another one that was mutated, ELK, in 5% of the lung cancer patients. And so they developed another tyrosine kinase inhibitor for that called crizotinib. And HER2 gets mutated in about 1%, and they have drugs for that, such as Herceptin or lapatinib. And you see we have others that we've discussed, such as PI3 kinase, the IGF-1 receptor. And we note the biggest component of this pie chart is unknown. So this is why the genetic researchers are going great guns on sequencing, because there's about 40% of the patients where the main driver mutation is unknown. And so we still have a lot more work to do in lung cancer, but we're starting to make some progress now. We're coming up with drugs such as tyrosine kinase inhibitors for the EGF receptor and ELK. But we've got a long ways to go to catch up to breast cancer. There they have a multitude of drugs. And so this is a chart to illustrate precision medicine, and it's sort of hard to see. But when the patient comes in, this is a protocol that they use over at the clinical center of NCI, Building 10. And so when the patient comes in, you do a genetic analysis of the tumor. And if it's got EGF receptor mutation, you can treat with alertinib. If it's got a RAS mutation, you use a MEK inhibitor, AZ6044. And if it's got a PTEN mutation, you use a PI3 kinase inhibitor. If it's got an ERB2 mutation, you use lapatinib, a tyrosine kinase inhibitor. And then some cancers have c-KIT mutations, so you use the drug sunitinib for that. And if you don't figure out one of these, then you try to go to some alternative therapy. And then when you're all done treating the patient, you do another genetic analysis of the tumor to see if it's changed. And so here's some of the pathways we've looked at. We've looked at EGF receptor activation, and here's the MEK-ERT pathway. Here's the AKT pathway, and there's many other pathways that are involved as well. So with a cancer cell, they're smart. You can't just think of one protein and then that's going to solve it. Cancer can mutate. It's a moving target. And so you can often find a drug like a tyrosine kinase inhibitor that'll work, and then a year later it stops working because the cancer's mutated into something else. So with erlotinib and gefitinib, they found drug resistance after about a year in about half of the patients. And primarily this was due to another mutation in the EGF receptor, the T790M mutation. So now they're developing second and third generation tyrosine kinase inhibitors for these patients. Another example of a tyrosine kinase inhibitor comes with Gleevec. This was developed around 2000, and this is for chronic myelogenous leukemia patients. So this is a blood cancer. And basically, this doesn't result from mutations. It results from a translocation between chromosome 9 and chromosome 22. And so here you see there's a breakpoint, and some of chromosome 9 is translocated with some of chromosome 5. And so as a result, when you look at the chromosomes, you see that chromosome 22 gets shorter after the mutation, whereas chromosome 9 gets longer after the mutation. And it's the chromosome 22, the BCR-ABL, that's the receptor tyrosine kinase that gets turned on. And so this drug Gleevec, a tyrosine kinase inhibitor, was identified, and it's effective in most of the patients with this mutation. And there's some toxicity, such as nausea, vomiting, edema, and rash, but this can sort of be controlled. And after a year, they looked initially at 54 patients. 53 of 54 responded. After a year, 51 were still doing good. And after 5 years, it started falling off a little bit. And so this is the structure of Gleevec. It's a small molecule. It binds to the tyrosine kinase domain. And when it binds, the ATP can't get in and phosphorylate the proteins. And after 5 years, they found that 17% of the patients sensitive to Gleevec became resistant, and there were point mutations in BCR-ABL T715I. And now they're developing second and third generation drugs, such as ponatinib. Okay, so in the 2000s then, we've developed lots of tyrosine kinase inhibitors. For CML, it's Gleevec. Another name for it is imatinib. For breast cancer, we have Herceptin, which is a monoclonal antibody, and lapatinib, a tyrosine kinase inhibitor. For melanoma, we have BRAF mutations. The PLX4032 is a tyrosine kinase inhibitor. For gastrointestinal stromal tumor, this is the c-KIT tyrosine kinase, and it's sensitive to imatinib as well as sunitinib. We've mentioned the EGF receptor is important in non-small cell lung cancer. It gets mutated, and gefitinib and erlotinib are tyrosine kinase inhibitors. Okay, and finally we get near the end. We're talking about practical steps to prevent cancer. And so one of the first things you want to do is check your house for radon. When I moved to Maryland, we bought a house out in the country. It was on a hill. And after about 5 years, we wanted to sell it. And they checked our basement for radon, and we failed the test. And they said, well, you're lucky you lived on the upper floor, because if you lived in the basement, it was the equivalent of smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. So basically what you do is you put in a blower, and it basically pumps air from the basement out of the house, and new air gets in, and then you're fine. And it's because a lot of the rock in Maryland has radon gas. And so if you live on a hilltop and you're on top of a lot of rock, you can get a lot of radon coming into your basement. Another thing is to check your house for asbestos. If you have an old house, such as one that was built in the 80s, it's very popular to use asbestos as an insulation material. And as I say, it's fine if it's in a wall, but if that wall becomes broken, then all the asbestos will come out and you can get mesothelioma. Take precautions at your workplace. Well, you'd think NIH is safe, right? Well, I used to have an office in Building 31, and at the top of the office, there was this little note, and it said, beware asbestos in walls. And so NIH, it's an old place. The first building was built in the 40s, and we had a lot of the buildings that were built in the 80s, and they used asbestos, and it's still there today. Check your community water. You don't want to drink polluted water. And an example is sometimes water gets contaminated with minerals such as chromium. We mentioned chromium is a carcinogen that can cause lung cancer. Avoid breathing polluted air. Well, I was a grad student at Caltech, so I lived in Los Angeles. And every day around 1 o'clock, the ozone would move through. It would come from the coast, Santa Monica, go through downtown, come through Pasadena, and go out to Riverside by 4 o'clock. So every day around 1 o'clock, I'd start coughing and sputtering because the ozone was coming in through the air system, and it would get into my lungs and hurt my nerves. And so they say living in Los Angeles, for every 2 years you live there, you lose 1 year of life because the air is so polluted. Protect your skin. Basically, what's happening now in the world is we're using up our ozone in the atmosphere. So more UV light is coming in, especially in the US and the southern states, Arizona, Texas, Florida. Melanoma is increasing all the time. So you always want to put on sunscreen, but the best thing when you're in those severe environments is try to stay out of the sun. Don't breathe smoke. Well, they found out that cigarette smoke, it's bad if you're the primary, but you can be the secondary. You can live in a house with a smoker, and then you'll get some of that secondary smoke, and the odds of you getting cancer are pretty slim, but there's still a chance. So in the US, especially here at NIH, smoking is prohibited on the campus. So you can't breathe secondhand smoke. Smoke, the carcinogens get into the ventilation system. They go from one room to another. There's nothing to stop them. So the way to stop it is to, not allow the smoke in the buildings. Exercise daily. So basically, you don't want to become obese. That increases the risk of colon cancer. The way I do it is I'm a bicycle rider. So this weekend, we have a big ride called the Civil War Century. So I'm going to be riding my bike Saturday through the Gettysburg battlefield. Sort of a spooky place. Avoid pesticides. So pesticides can lead to prostate cancer. So I'm a gardener. If I use a pesticide, I'm wearing gloves, just like in the lab, and I'll wear a mask so I won't breathe it in. And then as soon as I finish, I'll take a shower. Eat fruits and berries and vegetables. So basically we saw the carcinogens get oxidized. The fruits and vegetable are reductants, so they prevent oxidation. So you'll get less carcinogens forming from the chemicals. Reduce red meat consumption. You don't want to eat fat. You'd rather eat fish. Fish have omega-3 fatty acids. They are chemopreventive. Minimize fried foods. Well, my wife loves to have me go out and barbecue because then she won't have to cook. But all that black stuff on the food is not very good to eat. So you want to avoid charcoal. We mentioned before, drink alcohol in moderation. You don't want to get liver cancer or esophageal cancer. Avoid unnecessary x-rays. This is something Pete will talk about soon. And reduce infections. So about 18% of the cancers are thought to result from inflammation. So if you have bacterial infection, your immune system will go in there to try to kill the bacteria, but then it'll release lots of chemicals, and some of these proteins can stimulate the growth of the cancer. So you don't want inflammation. And finally, in closing, we have a couple references. This is one by Hanahan and Weinberg, Hallmarks of Cancer, the Next Generation. And then we have one here by Brian Drucker talking about the CML and the tyrosine kinase inhibitors. And that's it for me. So are there any questions? Okay, well, basically, what's going on in the field now is the tyrosine kinase inhibitors are good. They slow down the cancer, but we mentioned that the cancer is a moving target, so then it can mutate into something else. And so now the big thing that they're looking at is the immune checkpoint inhibitors. And so these stimulate the immune system, and they're effective in about 20% of the lung cancer patients. So, that's good for lung cancer. We don't have a lot of things working, and even 20% of the patients, that's over 30,000 in number. So that's a big number. And the way you get cancer deaths down is by stopping lung cancer, because that's the biggest killer of all. Okay, so we'll get ready now, and Pete will take over. Pete's the program director of the molecular imaging section, and he's been here quite a while, and he's lectured in TRACO many, many times, so I'm sure you'll enjoy his lecture. And he hangs out in Building 10 with all the patients and the tumor boards.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry, and good afternoon, everybody. It seems like I follow you every year at this date because I remember the century you did last year in Gettysburg. Well, we didn't know that at the time, though. So it's very impressive. Terry's in good shape, let me just say that. So I know you're at the beginning of this course, and I will have to say that you're going to get some really interesting talks on specific cancers and state-of-the-art information about all of what's going on in cancer, and so it's really a great course. My talk is about imaging of cancer, and it's a very broad subject, but all the cancers that you're going to hear about have to be imaged in one way or another so that we see whether they're getting worse or better for obvious reasons. And so I thought it would be a good idea to take a look at what goes on in a radiology department, the various techniques we use to monitor cancer, explain them a little bit. At one point in this course, we actually did tours of the radiology department, physical tours, but with HIPAA violations and everybody concerned about privacy, that became a little bit more difficult to do. So I'm going to give you a sort of a virtual tour of the radiology department, and it enables us to get under the hood a little bit. So imaging is useful in a variety of different ways in the context of cancer, including screening for cancer, for instance, breast cancer, mammography, lung cancer, screening CT scans. And then staging has the lesion spread to lymph nodes or distant metastases. Is it responding to treatment? Having responded, has it recurred? And overall, what is the prognosis? Is it what's going to happen to the patient? And these can all be assessed by looking at the extent of disease and the metabolic activity of the disease. And these are some of the things we're going to talk about. So these are the main imaging devices that we'll visit with: CT, MRI, ultrasound, SPECT, and PET. Say just a few words about optical imaging. Now, one of the things that's striking when you walk into a radiology department is that you can't really tell one machine from another. They all look the same from the outside. I'm talking about the high-end machines. So the CT, the MRI, they all have a a bed and a gantry, and the sort of donut shaped. You can tell different manufacturers by their logo, but you'd be hard pressed to say whether a device is a CT or an MRI just by looking at it. The exception being on the outside here, the ultrasound. That always looks very different on the right there. So this is actually what they are. So let's begin with the workhorse of any radiology department, which is computed tomography, or CT. Don't call it CAT scan. Oh, that's a bad thing. CT scan. That's the way pros call it. So here's an example of a lung cancer. Sorry, in the left lung, and we call it left on this side, right on this side. And there's spiculation, there's a little pneumonia, and there's extension into the mediastinum here. And so you can get a lot of information. These are done very quickly. From the upper neck to the pelvis can be done in about 5 to 7 seconds, actually, with our modern machines. So CT is the workhorse. We do, even in a relatively modest-sized department here at the clinical center, we'll do 80 patients a day. Virtually every cancer patient comes through the CT suite at one or more parts of their treatment. So it's very widely available. There's very minimal preparation. You either don't drink anything that's nothing by mouth, NPO, or you drink some contrast material, but it's very easy to do. And then, as I said, very rapid. So the throughput is incredible. You can get all these patients through in a short amount of time, an incredible amount of information. It's very high resolution, sub-millimeter resolution. And after all is said and done, because of the competitive nature of the marketplace, these machines are relatively inexpensive for the number of patients that you can run through them every day. Now, there are some disadvantages. Radiation. Obviously, these machines involve radiation. And for cancer patients, that's less of an issue. But I have to say, if you're talking about screening for cancer, it's a huge issue, because the very reason you're doing screening is to catch cancer early. The last thing you want to do is induce it with unnecessary radiation. So you want to keep the radiation really low. And young patients, patients who are in remission, all of these people are thinking, no, I don't want any extra radiation. So radiation is a comparative disadvantage. We often use intravenous contrast media, and that's an iodine-based dye that's injected in the veins. And the iodine blocks the X-ray so we can see it in the vessels. And it's been evolving over many years. It used to be one of these things that had a lot of reactions, allergic reactions. That hardly ever happens. We maybe get 1 or 2 of those per year, at least serious reactions. And kidney damage can occur in patients who have a lot of pre-existing kidney damage. For most patients, this is really not an issue. But one of the key criticisms about CT is that it only provides anatomic information. It tells you where the liver is, whether there's a problem in the liver. It doesn't really tell you much about what that problem is, whether it's a metabolically active lesion and things like that. So let's talk about how CT comes about. This is physics light, no equations. Well, in order to produce an X-ray, you have to send charged particles, particularly electrons, at a target, which we call the anode. So these electrons hit the anode, and with such force that they dislodge, they energize the molecules in the anode to release X-rays in a downward direction because of the angle of the anode. And all this is done in a vacuum, so there's no interference. That's called a vacuum tube. And that's why the X-ray tube is called an X-ray tube, because it has to be in this vacuum. So in a CT, we have this X-ray tube, and it's rotating around the patient. And at the same time, we have this ring of detectors that detects the X-rays as they pass through the patient. Well, since the patient has variable attenuation depending on the angle on which you send X-rays through the patient, you're going to get a different pattern on these detectors at every point in the 360 rotation of that X-ray tube. So what we do with that data, since every projection is slightly different as the tube goes around, and I'm doing it in sort of jump steps, but in fact it happens continuously, you do what's called filtered back projection. If you, in the simplest case, if you had just 4 little tubes in the center of the CT and you kept going around it, you'd have different profiles depending on what angle you looked at. You can see some sample profiles. And if you back projected all those profiles, you would reform an image. It's a crude image in this case, but you can imagine if you have many more projections and many better detectors, you could get a very accurate depiction of what you've just scanned. And that's exactly the way CT works, by filtered back projection. So when we pack this all into a modern day CT scanner, you have really a huge amount of technology. First of all, you have this X-ray source that is going around the patient at really rapid speeds. So much of this is derived from airplane rotors that go, this is the kind of technology that's used because it's very, very high speed, and there are huge amounts of forces that you can imagine being generated by a heavy object going around in a circle. Fortunately, most of the forces are outward, so if there is a problem, it damages the machine, not the patient. But nonetheless, you don't want any of that to happen. And then you have the data acquisition systems built in there. Now, what happens in a modern machine is that we just don't scan and then move the patient, scan and move the patient. We continuously move the patient while the beam is going around. So that has an interesting implication, and that is that the data, even though it looks like it's slice by slice, like sliced bread, is in fact acquired a loaf at a time and then electronically sliced. So you can actually slice it in different ways. You can decide to slice it in 2 millimeter thick sections or 5 millimeter thick or even 10 millimeter if you, but it's a 3D data set that's acquired, not a 2D, even though it looks that way. And that's why you, with sufficient resolution, you can go back and recut the image in any plane that you want. For instance, if the lesion is better seen in this coronal plane, it's easy enough to do. You just reformat it so it's in that coronal plane or on the sagittal plane. For instance, the sagittal plane is really good for looking at the spine. You can imagine that's the best way of looking at the spine, front to back, sagittally. And you can do that because of these 3D data sets. So here's just an example of this is what we're used to when we think of a CT scan, the axial view. But you can switch that around and look at the coronal view, very nice for looking at these kidneys, or the sagittal view for looking at the spine. You can easily see, for instance, if one of these vertebral bodies, for instance, this one, has a little compression fracture. It would be very hard to see in this view and pretty hard to see in this view, but piece of cake on the side view. So let's switch over to the issue of radiation, because probably the most, the biggest change that's occurred in CT scanning over the last 5 or 6 years has been much more attention to radiation. So this was occasioned by a very sad case in which a child was being scanned at a pediatric hospital, and the machine kept scanning the child over and over again, and nobody was sort of paying attention, and the child received a very large dose of radiation to their head, and it's such that they lost hair. You know, it was essentially a radiation burn, and there was just an outcry from virtually everybody. How could this happen? This was an up-to-date scanner in a modern U.S. hospital. How is it that this scanner can go around and around and around and nobody stops it? So the whole industry was galvanized, and the whole issue of radiation came up to the top. And what was so interesting about it was that we had not paid any attention to radiation for a very long time. And then when we started to focus on it, we realized not only would we put in preventive measures that wouldn't allow the scanner to just scan and scan and scan, but you could reduce the amount of dose that an average patient received significantly with just minor modifications of the parameters used to scan. And then there have been gradual improvements in that. So we've dramatically lowered the amount of radiation. So in this study, for instance, from Mass General, they were able to lower all the doses without any compromise in the ability to see anything dramatically using better reconstruction algorithms, more sensitive detectors, and even synthetic images, which prevented you from having to rescan a patient. You could infer the image from a prior image. So I mentioned iodinated contrast media. So that is what enables us to see things enhanced. If all we were left with was non-contrast CT scans, CT would not be nearly as useful. But because we can inject this small molecule that contains iodine into the system, we can opacify the kidneys, the liver, and tumors enhance with a different degree of enhancement than do these other structures, the normal structures. So you can easily see, for instance, this lesion coming off the kidney, whereas it's much harder to appreciate without the contrast. So contrast is administered by a machine all of its own, a injector, which is shown here, and it automatically pumps the material into the vein. You have to check to make sure the vein is properly, the IV is properly seated, so there isn't any extravasation of the dye. And then you see two chambers here. Chamber 1 is the iodinated contrast, and chamber 2 is fluid like dextrose water or normal saline that chases the rest of the iodinated bolus into the patient. So these are the two syringes that you can see that are loaded, one containing contrast and one containing the flush. And this is an example of the kind of dye that we use here at the hospital. So basically, this is a non-ionic contrast media that has a lot of iodine loaded on it so that it's very dense with iodine, so that when you inject it, it will stop the X-rays to some degree, and to that extent, we'll show you where the dye is. Now, one thing that's astounding is the typical dose, although it's been lowering in recent years, the typical dose per patient is on the order of grams of iodine per administration. So 30 to 45 grams of iodine is administered routinely. Now, I just want to mention some other things that make CT very interesting and unique. Is you often hear radiologists talk about the mediastinal window or the lung window, and it's sort of like, what do they mean by all this? And we have the ability, because it's a digital image, to change the parameters of the image, so that by setting the so-called window and level, you can get an image that looks like this, and the very same image can be manipulated so you get an image like this. This one's obviously good for looking at the lungs. This one's good for looking at these structures in the mediastinum or middle of the chest. So what is this window and level? Well, the window is what the grayscale is, where you set the grayscale. So the grayscale can go from plus 1,000 to minus 1,000. And you can either make that tighter so that small changes in density have much greater differences in grayscale, or you can make it very broad, in which case there's very little change between various X-ray densities. So for the lung, for instance, where everything is approximately air, you want a very wide window so that you can see very small differences in attenuation between different structures. whereas with the mediastinum, you can have a tighter window. And then the level is where the middle of the grayscale is. That's the zeroed out level of the grayscale. So for the lung, that's a negative number because air is negative on the negative side in this scale. And for the mediastinum, that level is in less than 100, usually, for instance, 40 or 50. Okay, so that's CT. So let's leave the CT section and move over to the MRI section. This is an example of a patient who has a prostate cancer on this prostate MRI. And you can see the cancer when it comes out of the patient. So MRI has some advantages. It doesn't involve any radiation. That's cool. It's multiplanar. It has multiple contrast types. So on CT, we have one option, X-ray attenuation. On MRI, we have lots of options. We can look at so-called T1 weighting, T2 weighting, diffusion weighting, contrast, spectroscopy. And this list is only the beginning of the different contrasts you can bring out from tissue. So it's got a lot more capabilities. It has some disadvantages compared to CT. It's a lot slower than CT, whereas CT can be done really in a few minutes. The MRI may take a half an hour or even an hour. It's more expensive as a consequence because you have this machine and you have to pay for it somehow. Well, if you can only do a limited number of patients per day, you have to charge more, so it's more expensive. It's also not very good for calcifications. Calcifications really don't show up that well on MRI. So if that's the issue, for instance, stone disease, kidney stone disease is just not a good thing to do an MRI on. And then the other safety issues that come up are that we're working in a very strong magnetic field. This is a non-trivial magnetic field. We're not talking about a refrigerator magnet here. We're talking about something 1,000 times more powerful. And so ordinary objects like a scissor that's metallic becomes a javelin in an MRI unit, and it's extremely serious. So you have to be clear not to have metallic, that is ferromagnetic objects in the MR center. And now we actually wall off the MR so that you can't even enter in to near the room unless you've been checked for metallic objects. And then there are incompatible metallic implanted devices like pacemakers and cochlear implants. And the major thing there is that the strong magnetic field can interfere with the performance of a pacemaker. So if you depend on a pacemaker and you go into an MRI, it's no longer going to function. That could be a problem. And cochlear implants can actually, because they're a delicate apparatus, can be destroyed. So I'm going to attempt the very dangerous feat of explaining MR physics to you quickly. So this, obviously some Nobel Prizes have been won for explaining this, and there's a huge mathematical background for all this. So we're going light here, but I think there's some important principles that you need to understand. So why is it that you need this strong magnetic field? That's the question. Why can't you do this in a refrigerator magnet level MRI? That would be so much better. No projectiles, lots of better things. Well, if you don't really have a strong magnetic field, the protons in your body that are mainly protons associated with water molecules, H2O, are randomly rotating in space until they get into a strong magnetic field, in which case they'll either align with the magnetic field or against the magnetic field, slightly more with the magnetic field. It's a slightly lower energy state. And so now they're all aligned. And not only are they aligned, but they're precessing at a fixed frequency given by the magnetic field. The stronger the magnetic field, the faster they go. The lower the magnetic field, the slower they go. Well, this is really important because it turns out that you can perturb them from this state by putting radio frequency pulses at that same frequency that they're going around. It's called the LARMR frequency. And so in addition to the magnetic fields, what we have are coils, radio frequency coils that emit radio frequencies at the same LARMR frequency. And when they do that, you can start to get these guys to go off the axis from the main magnetic field. And what's important about that is once you turn off the RF, they return back, and as they return back, they give signal. It's hard to believe that this works, but it's absolutely true. I'm still amazed that it actually works. But so you need a strong magnetic field because you need these protons to behave in that way. And then you need them at the right radio frequency so that you can excite them with the radio frequency pulse. So there are a complex number of pulse sequences that are given in any MRI. We won't go into details at all, but the idea is that you're in a strong magnetic field, all your protons are precessing at the LARMR frequency, and then you give an RF pulse and that's given by these little blips here, and that deflects the proton into another plane, and as it relaxes back, you can extract signal from which you can make images. And very much like the back projection that we showed with CT, you can kind of do the same thing on MRI, not with X-rays, but now just with antennas that pick up the relaxing radio frequencies. So let's talk about an MRI, and this is a cross-section of an MRI. And there are a couple important things. First of all, so the patient obviously goes in the center of this device, and then we have this large area, the biggest part of it is what's labeled superconducting wire. And what that is it's a bath of liquid helium in which there's a wire, a coil, through which a huge electric charge is going. So this is an electromagnet, but it's a superconducting electromagnet. So you don't have to keep feeding it this power. Once you charge it with this huge amount of energy, it just generates that magnetic field. It keeps on going. So it's critical that you keep this thing cold because it's superconducting when it's cold. But if it starts to heat up, boom, you burn off all that liquid helium. It turns into gas, and the resistance goes way up, and actually the coil burns up very quickly. Seen it once. It's very exciting. So we have, that's where the main magnetic field comes from. And then you can see these coils. There's an RF radio frequency body coil, gradient coils, there's vacuum thermal insulation, et cetera. And then there are these vents that take out, that's how you put the liquid helium into the machine, and if there's any burn off, that's where it's going to come off. So once you get all the covers on, it looks a lot better. And the key features here are the magnet here and the pipes at the top, and they're called quench pipes, so that should the liquid helium burn off and the magnet converts from superconducting to non-superconducting, there'll be a huge rush of gas. And so you need to have a pipe in the ceiling that will take away that gas. So there is a clue when you walk into a room in a radiology department, you're trying to figure out if it's a CT or an MRI. The MRI always has some pipe coming out the top. That may or may not be of any use to you. We have the same kind of injector that we have for CT, so that looks about the same. And because it produces a fairly loud noise, we put in ear protection for the patient, both ear plugs and then these kind of headset that goes over the earplugs to prevent damage to hearing. It can get quite loud. So it's important that we talk about safety with MRI. And one of the things that one of the first things that they don't understand is that because we've charged up the scanner and it's on, it's always on. The lights could be out, people could be, it could be the middle of the weekend, but the magnet is still fully charged. So you can't walk in there with a screwdriver or a cleaning basin or keys any time of day, ever. That's important to know. So in order to prevent that, we've designed these suites so it's hard to get into the MRI. So there's a control room, which we call Zone 3, which you can't get into unless you've been checked for metallic objects. It's locked at night, locked over the weekend. You can't get into it. And the cleaning personnel have to be specially trained to know when they enter Zone 3, they have to be demagnetized. And Zone 2, of course, is when we start checking them, asking them whether they have magnetic things, and then Zone 1 is basically normal. So there can be really big disasters, especially in the beginning, like the floor buffer in the middle of the night. He's just, oh, it'd be good to do the MRI floor, and zoom, the floor buffer finds its way in the middle of the gantry. Fortunately, it's the middle of the night, so no patients in there, but you could imagine the total catastrophe if it was done with a patient in there. And here's an unfortunate tool chest that got sucked into the magnet. This wasn't actually a tragedy, but it reflects on a tragedy that occurred when a child was having difficulty breathing while in an MRI, and the technologist called for help. Someone heard them in the hall, and they assessed, I think they were an anesthesiologist, and they, oh, I'll get an oxygen tank. And he ran into the oxygen tank, and the tank was pulled out of his hands and sucked into the magnet and killed the child in the MRI. And that's for real. That's why we have these warning signs all over the place, and people are trained to stop anybody getting anywhere near an MRI with a metallic object. By the way, if something happens with a patient while they're in the MRI, the first step is to take the patient out of the MRI. You don't want the emergency personnel going into the MRI with all their stuff. So step one of our training is get the patient out of the room. We always have an area where they can be, tended to, but it's outside the scanner. So we use contrast media in MRI as well, and it's called gadolinium contrast. It's a little bit different than the iodinated, much lower dose by a factor of at least 100, actually over 100 dose reduction compared to iodinated contrast. And there are a variety of different formulations that contain gadolinium that you can see here. The more stable ones have this kind of caged appearance, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So it turns out that when you have the gadolinium all nice and caged, it's a very stable molecule. So the gadolinium DOTA, which is what we use here, is the most stable of all. This is the thermodynamic stability constant. So it's very hard for that gadolinium to get outside of the rest of the molecule. And you can see it gets down to these, which still seem pretty high, but they're significantly lower because each one of these is a factor of 10. So the difference between 25 and 24 is a factor of 10. 24 and 23, another factor of 10. So when you get down to 16 from 25, you're talking many orders of magnitude lower binding of gadolinium. Why is that important? Well, gadolinium ion, free, unbound from its chelate, is actually pretty toxic. It has bone marrow toxicity, it has hepatic toxicity. So you don't really want that. And most of the time, when we inject these small molecules, they go into the patient, they get filtered by the kidney, and they get excreted all within, a few hours. There's not really a chance for the gadolinium to come off. But what if you give the agent to someone who has renal dysfunction? Their GFR is, say, 10 cc's an hour. That could be a problem. That means the molecule that you've injected is just circulating and circulating and circulating. And if you have a molecule with a low thermodynamic stability constant, it's going to start to release gadolinium. And that's exactly what happened a few years ago when people started giving it indiscriminately to patients who had very severe renal dysfunction. And what we think happened was that the gadolinium came out. It caused a sclerosing reaction in the skin, and it caused what we call nephrogenic systemic sclerosis. Patients were unable to move their extremities, they became fibrosed, and in some cases they died. So this is a very interesting sort of episode because it shows that this was sort of a disease induced by man, but we quickly learned about it, figured it out, and stopped it. So it was discovered in 2006 by the Danish Medicine Agency, who recorded an unusual, the disease itself was sort of known, but all of a sudden they started to see a huge rise in the number of these cases. And they sort of went back and did detective work and found, oh, all of these people had had gadolinium. And, you know, they'd had a lot of other things, but they all did have gadolinium. This reminds me a little bit about the Zika virus and microcephaly, because that whole connection was found by a few doctors in small hospitals in Brazil who just made the observation, hey, microcephaly maybe once or twice a year. Now we're seeing it like 10 times a year, 20, maybe something's going on. And so, you know, that's how that whole thing broke. So observant people made the connection, and we realized that these agents with the low thermodynamic stabilities were the cause. As soon as you went up to good stabilities, there was no problem. But also, if you were more cautious about giving it to patients who had poor renal function, you could eliminate it altogether. And that's what's happened. We basically don't see this anymore now that we understand what causes it. So this is a patient, and this is a kind of bone scan, and it shows all this uptake in the extremities, and you have no basis for comparison here, but this is all fibrosed tissue around the upper legs. So the latest kind of concern about gadolinium is also related to this low thermodynamic stability. People are beginning to notice that patients who have received a lot of scans with gadolinium, even with decent renal function, have increased density in their dentate nucleus of their brain. Well, nothing's been directly associated with having a dense dentate nucleus, but it's probably not the greatest thing. And so there's a little concern in the whole field about whether we should be having absolute limits on the number of injections of gadolinium patients can have. There's just concern about it, so I just raise it. Okay, moving on to the next section, ultrasound. So ultrasound's a fun modality. You know, obstetrical ultrasound, you've all seen, and here's an example. We don't do any at NIH, so I had to get that off the web, but ultrasound at some level is the most amazing, fantastic modality. It's no radiation, it's real-time imaging, it's inexpensive, it's quick, no preparation, no injections, none of those toxicities that we heard about, no projectiles coming into an ultrasound room. It's kind of simple. And in fact, in developing countries, it's the #1 modality. But there are some disadvantages to it, just like every modality has some disadvantages. And that is that it really depends on the quality of the user, whereas it doesn't really matter how good or bad you are with a CT, you'll get the same quality CT. With ultrasound, it matters a lot how trained the operator is. And it's kind of like a flashlight, too. If you don't shine it somewhere, you're not going to see something. So it's what you see is all there is. So if the technologist doesn't shine the ultrasound to the right part, you're not going to see it. Very difficult to quantify. And there's some areas that you just can't see on ultrasound because the sound waves are blocked. Lungs, air in the lungs just blocks sound. the brain? Well, mainly because of the skull, you can't see the brain. Bone reflects right off the hard surface of the bone. So ultrasound is kind of intuitive to us. It doesn't really require a lot of physics. You send out a sound wave. It goes through whatever you need to, the medium, so to speak, and then it hits an object with a different sound characteristics. That is, the speed of sound is different in this object, and it will reflect off that object, and then you can receive it. Well, okay. I mean, that's the basic details. And so a lot of things can happen when you send sound out. For instance, it can go right through what you're interested in. It can get totally absorbed by what you're interested in. It can get reflected. It can scatter. So if you have tiny little specular refractors, you can get scatter in all different directions. It can refract, just like any wave, or diffract. So there are a lot of artifacts that can occur. But it can be extremely useful. So this is it's very simple ultrasound, probably took about 10 seconds to do this. And you can see it's a liver. This is the vessel, the inferior vena cava. And can you appreciate that it's got kind of speckles in it? And those are liver metastases. Each one of these little lesions is a liver metastasis from a colon cancer. So the business end of an ultrasound is the probe, which has a piezoelectric crystal. So when you apply energy to that, it'll vibrate such that it produces a sound wave, and that goes into the tissue. And you can get different frequencies of sound, different shapes of all these probes, and obviously, you can put them in various places. Now, one of the exciting developments over the last decade or so has been the evolution of ultrasound from this fairly massive device that has to be pushed around with sort of an assisted motor to this tablet-sized device that really could be walked around, to a pocket-sized device, which is basically could go with your iPhone. In fact, there are ultrasound probes for the iPhone. And it's just amazing. It really is something that's very portable. It hasn't really caught on. You'd think this would be the stethoscope of the future, and everybody always talks about it as the stethoscope of the future, but it hasn't. And I think the reason is that it's a lot harder to do than it really looks. One of the outstanding features of ultrasound is its real-time feature. So when you put the probe on, you can see what's going on in real time. And that makes it very useful for biopsy, guiding biopsies. So for instance, this lesion that you want to biopsy, you can actually see the needle coming in and entering the lesion, and you can watch the whole process. Now, ultrasound has a contrast agent as well, but it's not as commonly used as iodinated or gadolinium contrast media. It's called microbubbles, and the little microbubbles resonate when you put the sound wave on them, and you can see them. So for instance, in these liver lesions, you can see them light up very nicely after the contrast. So let's leave ultrasound and go over to the nuclear medicine section of the radiology department, which has two kinds of machines that we're going to visit with. The first is called the single photon emission computed tomography, or SPECT for short. And that really involves two separate things in that name. One is single photon emission. We'll talk about that. And then computed tomography. Well, you know something about that already. CT, basically the same concept, back projected image. So let's return to single photon emission. Well, you have nuclei of various kinds that can emit particles, single particles, either alpha rays, which are helium nuclei. They don't go very far at all. They're big, clumsy, and they stop really quickly. So a piece of paper can stop an alpha particle. So we don't use alphas for imaging. Betas can go slightly farther, but still very limited to a few millimeters. you're not going to make an imaging agent out of a beta emitter. So we're left with gamma rays, which are just photons, high energy photons that are released from a radioactive nucleus. And it's these gamma rays that are collected for the CT, SPECT CT. So I can put all the advantages and disadvantages on one slide here. SPECT, it's a relatively mature modality. It's inexpensive as these things go, and there's broad experience with it. Naturally, it involves radiation exposure. We're back to radiation. A preparation of an imaging agent that is radioactive, that emits this gamma ray, and therefore subject to all the nuclear regulatory rules that pertain to radioactive substances. And scanning is relatively slow. Now, the thing is, it's not that easy to image a gamma ray, because the gamma ray doesn't know that you're trying to make an image. It's just a gamma ray. So it goes in every direction, all over the place. And it doesn't know where your detectors are. So in order to kind of get it to go in the right way so that you can image it, you have to put something called a collimator in front of it. And collimator is just a metal, like beehive, long, and it forces photons to go down the middle of each one of these little beehive pipes. And everything else is rejected. So if you're a photon that's going off at some weird angle, boom, you're blocked by the collimator. You never get to participate in the image. But if you happen to be a photon that can go right down through this collimator, yes, we can then go to a scintillation crystal, which emits a little light when you hit it, and then you can detect that light with these detectors. And that's the basic setup for a SPECT detector. But you can see a problem here, that you're going to be rejecting a lot of photons, which means it's pretty inefficient. You're going to put in radioactivity into a person, but only 1% of that is going to be imaged, because everything else is going to be collimated out. And so here's a picture of one of these collimators. And so that makes it relatively inefficient. And also because of that, the spatial resolution of a SPECT imaging device is not that good. So here's an example. You're used to I've shown you some nice sharp images that you get from CT or MRI. And this is the kind of thing that you get with a SPECT camera. It's much more fuzzy. Some people accuse it of being not nuclear medicine, but unclear medicine. And so this is with the 99M, so it's an isotope of technetium that's taken up by bone, and you can see it here. So one of the things is that because of the ability to make different agents, you can do different things. For instance, with this technetium bone scan, you can get a very nice image of the bones and whether they're bony metastases, for instance, or bone fractures. With this agent, pertechnetate, same radioisotope, but a different moiety, you can look at thyroid and salivary gland function. Thallium for parathyroid, indium oxine for cell labeling, and iodine 131 is taken up by the thyroid. Here's a patient with thyroid cancer getting administered I-131, which is not only a diagnostic agent, but also a therapeutic agent, because there's enough output of gamma rays to actually kill the tumor as well. So we have these machines that can detect both the gamma rays from the radioisotope and have a CT device at the back end. So these are called hybrid imaging, so that you get ultimately an image that looks like this. This is a patient with a parathyroid tumor, and the primary was removed in here, and there's a node here, but you can now see it superimposed on the CT scan. So that's why it's called hybrid. You get a CT scan and the nuclear scan. And in some ways, this compensates for the lower resolution of the SPECT scanner. So clearly, we're talking about radioactivity. Safety is again very important, both for the operator, who has to deal with the radioactive material and the patient. So our last stop in the radiology department will be positron emission tomography, and it's probably the most sophisticated of all of the techniques that I'm going to talk to you about. And instead of the single photon emitter, SPECT, this is a dual photon emitter. So what happens with a radioactive substance that is a positron emitter is that it emits this positron from the nucleus, and when that positron encounters an electron, there's something called annihilation that happens. And the two of them annihilate each other and release two simultaneous X-rays in opposite direction. And that turns out to be extremely important from an imaging point of view. So PET advantages, disadvantages. PET is extremely sensitive. It's 10 to 100 times more sensitive than SPECT. It provides all kinds of metabolic information. It has much better spatial resolution than SPECT, and it's often combined, it's always combined with CT or MRI so that you can get the advantages of the anatomic imaging and the functional imaging. It has its disadvantages, very similar expense, regulatory issues, and the short half-life of agents. So let's go over this positron emission once because it's so critical to what we're talking about. So this positron comes off a atom of fluorine 18, which is a positron emitter, and it's a positively charged electron, positron. And so it encounters a negatively charged electron, the normal kind of electron, and sort of a short-lived romance, and they annihilate each other and have two gamma rays that go off in opposite direction. But because of that, you know something about these gamma rays that you didn't know with SPECT. With SPECT, they were coming off in all kinds of random directions. If you have a detector now at both sites, and you say, ooh, I heard a ping here and I heard a ping here at the same time, or more or less the same time, that you know that the event, the annihilation, happens somewhere along this line between those two detectors. And that's incredibly important information because you can get rid of that collimator. Out goes the collimator, and now you can get a much more efficient scanner because you can get this coincidence imaging. That is, at opposite sides of the scanner, you're having events that are coincident with each other. And you can build those lines up of coincidence and form an image. So we're going to fast forward off to fluorine 18-deoxyglucose, which has a long history, actually important NIH history. But Otto Warburg, and you hear about the Warburg physiology in cancer a lot, he hypothesized and later proved that cancers switch from aerobic metabolism, that is the TCA cycle, which is very efficient. Most of our normal cells depend on that in the presence of oxygen, to the anaerobic metabolism, that is glucose to pyruvate to lactate using lactic dehydrogenase, LDH. Cancers turn that on. It's a very important phenomenon. There are many reasons. It's not completely clear why they turn that on, but they do. And so using the agent fluorodeoxyglucose, you can image the glucose uptake of cancers. And the reason for the NIH connection is a famous scientist here, Lou Sokolov, who unfortunately died in the past year. But he made some of the seminal observations about using not radioactive glucose, which is hard to manage, but this deoxyglucose, which is not metabolized in the same way as glucose, but it's taken up by the cell in the same way. So it comes into the cell and it's trapped and just accumulates, and it's perfect for an imaging agent. And he made some of the seminal observations. He also discovered that if you gave too much deoxyglucose, you could kill somebody. So, because people were thinking, well, this is a good anti-metabolite drug. You know, you just starve the cell for glucose using deoxyglucose, fool it into thinking it's getting glucose, and it'll be a great therapy. Well, it turns out you need glucose. You can't depend on deoxyglucose, and you'll go into a coma very rapidly. So that was quickly learned, and that lesson stuck. So we only use teeny tiny doses, micrograms of FDG when we do a scan like this. So it gets injected, it gets taken into cells. This is the picture of the molecule, and you can get very nice images with it. FDG is the most commonly performed kind of image. So these are PET CT devices, so they have the PET image, the CT, and then the hybrid fusion image as shown here. And it can be very useful for staging patients. For instance, this breast cancer patient has all kinds of things going on, but which of it is cancer? But you can see the hot spots here are sites of cancer. You can pick it up in the bone and various other spots. And so it's a very simple, relatively straightforward way of staging patients. So again, because we depend on the agents for the specificity of what the scanner tells us, we have a lot of possibilities here. And here's just some of our most notable PET agents. Sodium fluoride is for bone targeting. Fluorothymidine for cellular proliferation. Fluoroestradiol targets the estrogen receptor. Fluorocholine for membrane turnover. Misonidazole for hypoxia. We have amyloid for Alzheimer's. You can label antibodies like this zirconium Herceptin that we actually have in the clinic, and zirconium oxine for cell labeling, which we're about to start in patients here. So there's a lot going on with PET imaging. It has the advantages of very high sensitivity, pretty good specificity depending on the agent used. You can quantify the amount of uptake and actually compare a patient from time to time and say there's a reduction in the amount of uptake due to therapy. So that brings us to the end of our tour. So we've gone through CT, MRI, ultrasound, SPECT, and PET. And I just want to do a little comparison shopping as we look through these. In terms of resolution, CT is the top of the heap. MRI comes next, ultrasound next, PET, and then SPECT. But in terms of sensitivity, PET is on the top. If you're really trying to detect a small amount of disease, PET is much more sensitive. SPECT comes after. Interesting, ultrasound, especially with microbubbles, is very sensitive. MRI and then CT is actually at the bottom of that list. But if you're cost conscious, then ultrasound is definitely at the top of your list because it's cheapest by far. CT comes next. PET is at the bottom. So it's very complex choosing exactly what the best modality for a particular patient is. And we have to make those decisions every day in the radiology department. So I hope that this has been useful to you. You've learned something about what goes on in a radiology department and the various uses for these techniques. And I'm going to stop there and answer any questions. Thank you. Anybody?
What's the best way to image brain cancer?
Yeah. So the best way to image brain cancer is with brain MRI, with contrast media. And these other, certainly ultrasound doesn't play a role. CT, just not that good because you can see so much more with the different pulse sequences on MRI. Thank you.